Welcome to Irish Football Weekly, where we talk Notre Dame football here on The Grueling Truth. My name is Josh Benjamin, one of the hosts, and our other host, a great host at that, a former tight end for the Irish teams from 79 to 82. He was also drafted in the first round, 12th overall, by the way, by the Buffalo Bills in the 83 draft. That's Tony Hunter. Tony, what's going on, sir?
Oh, not too much, Josh. Really looking forward to seeing what the Irish do this weekend. They have a big test coming up, North Carolina State.
Absolutely. And you can catch our shows on several websites and also different medias, such as our website, thegruelingtruth.net, Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, which if you have an iPhone, you can get that app, The Grueling Truth, and subscribe, and you can get our show along with tons of other great shows that talk college football and even more in different sports on there. We also have Google Music that we're a part of and iHeartRadio. So tons of different medias for our shows to be listened to. You can also find us on Facebook, Tony Hunter and Josh Benjamin Talk Irish Football. We do have an Irish Football Weekly Facebook page now, just started this week, so you can follow us on there. And I also have Twitter at Coach JB4 as well. So lots of different places to hear us, see us, talk to us, etc. Good stuff for those Irish lovers, Irish football lovers out there. So let's go ahead and get started, Tony. Let's quickly talk about this last game, which I think was a huge step in the process of becoming a college football playoff team this year. But we still have tons of football left to go through. But let's talk about that USC game.
Oh, man. I tell you what, and you're right, we have a ton of football left to play. But I've been impressed with the Irish. I tell you what, the two games that I've been most impressed with this team, that Michigan State game where they went up and took it to Michigan State at home, and as a former Irish player, I know that whenever you go to Michigan State, they really come to play, and they want to beat Notre Dame on their home field, and Notre Dame went up there and took it to them. Turnaround last week, top 20 team, USC. I think they were ranked 11 coming into that game. Great opportunity for Notre Dame to really make a statement. And I tell you what, Josh, they came out and they did exactly that. They made a statement. They were physical. They out-physicaled USC and came away with a 49-14 pretty overwhelming defeat of USC. It's rare to see Notre Dame beat USC the way they beat them last week, and I tell you what, it was a welcome sight to see.
Oh man, it was a mental and physical drubbing of them, and almost every play, Tony, I could see that happening mentally and physically while the Irish dominated the Trojans. But, you know, you hear a lot of stats from me, listeners, and Tony yourself. You hear a lot of stats and from myself, and, you know, a ton of them come out to play. So just from this game, I mean, the defense held the rushing attack for USC to 76 yards and 2.5 yards a carry. And, I mean,
wow.
I just don't think
that's incredible. That's incredible. And you know what, Josh? That our defense, Notre Dame's defense, they're making plays out there. I saw some big interceptions. I'm seeing big athletic guys on the defensive side of the ball that are physical and that are making plays this year. It's been a while since I've seen an Irish defense play like the defenses that were playing back in my day and back during the Lou Holtz era where they had good defenses as well.
Yeah, and, you know, some things that come to mind with that defense, and I know we talked about how physical both sides of the ball were, but defensively, third down conversions, they held them to 4 of 13, you know, about 33% or so, and
wow.
Then they had 5 sacks, and I just
wow.
It's just
I mean, think back to last year when we were covering the games. I mean, quarterbacks, it just seemed like week after week, quarterbacks were coming up against that Notre Dame defense, and they had all time to throw the football. They could run the football. They were basically having career days, everybody, against our defense. That's not the case anymore. These guys are getting after it on defense, and I tell you what, it's a joy to watch.
Oh, absolutely. I love watching a punishing defense that plays assignment football that doesn't necessarily break but bends a little bit, will have a big play here and there, and just stays together and perseveres through those big plays possibly, and gets the job done essentially like they did this past week against USC. So I just think that mad props to that defense, and the turnover margin that the Irish have is 17-7, and that's fourth in the nation. And
wow.
I think that's outstanding. That's
yes.
the ball, because the Irish are 94-10 as far as points are scored off turnovers. So they scored 94 of those 17 turnovers, 94 points of those 17 turnovers, and they've only given up 10 points to those 7 turnovers that they've given up offensively. And so I think
wow.
Amazing.
Wow. I tell you that it's impressive. It's impressive. And as you know, our rushing attack with Josh Adams, I had to bring him up. Man, this guy is playing some outstanding football. I think against USC he had 191 yards and 3 touchdowns, and all of a sudden his name is being mentioned in the Heisman Trophy race. And I think it should be, no question about it. He's been playing great football all year. He's playing for one of the top teams in the country, and I definitely think his name should be mentioned amongst those that are in contention for the Heisman Trophy.
Oh, absolutely. I want to talk about him, too, a little bit. Man, him physically, he looks so fresh every week, Tony. I don't know what they do in practice, but he looks so fresh. And like you gave the stats there, 190-some yards, 10.1 per carry. And a first down. And he's averaging for the year, Tony. He's second in the nation in yards per carry at 9.21. That's
incredible. That's unheard of. That's unheard of for a Division I running back. 9.1 yards per carry. That is incredible. And I think he's 6th in the nation in rushing. Average 138 yards a game. Incredible job he's doing. And I think Dexter Williams is coming back, number 2 this week. And I think he's going to help, because he'll keep Josh fresh throughout the game by spelling him throughout the game. And I think that's going to make our running attack that much stronger with Dexter Williams coming back.
I agree. And I want to kind of flip roles here, or not necessarily roles, but flip positions here and talk about Brandon Wimbush a little bit. Now, he was under 50% completion percentage again. He was 9 of 19 for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, which I want to talk about that touchdown he threw back shoulder to Stefferson.
That was unbelievable. That was big time. That was a big-time throw. You know what, Josh? Brandon Wimbush, he looks more poised. He looks more confident. He's getting better week in and week out. And I was talking about this the other day with somebody, and it doesn't get mentioned very often, but you have to give that offense or the quarterback coach a lot of credit. The offensive coordinator is doing a heck of a job as far as calling plays, but the improvement that I've seen out of Brandon Wimbush, you also have to give credit to that the quarterback coach, because, like I said, Brandon's getting better week in and week out. He looks like he has better command of the offense. He's looking poised, and he's gaining more confidence every week.
Well, you kind of stole the words out of my mouth there, but I'm going to talk about the quarterback coach you're speaking of, which is Tommy Rees, who's the former quarterback for the Irish, and he was such a calm, collected individual at the quarterback position, being at Notre Dame, having that big, prestigious role, and kind of keeping him calm, keeping Brandon calm, and keeping him calm but confident. And like you said, he got so much more confident in the last week or two, and thrown the ball extremely well when it comes to those certain throws, especially that one to Stefferson for a touchdown.
Oh yeah, definitely a big time throw right there, big time throw.
And so, 2 guys that are huge, pivotal guys on offense with Wimbush and Adams. They talked about. I was watching the game on Saturday, and they were talking about Nelson and McGlinchey, and and how they anchor that offensive line. And I'm just so impressed with Coach Long, Chip Long, and what he's done as an offensive coordinator, whether it's calling the right play, whether it's putting them in the right position, whether it's...
Oh, yeah. You mentioned that offensive line. I tell you what, the Notre Dame offensive line is as good as any offensive line in the country. But it's going to be, we're going to have a big test this week against North Carolina State, even more so than USC. I think USC had a few guys out last week with injury and some other personal things that were going on. But this North Carolina State defense is sixth in the nation in rushing defense. And they have a guy by the name of Bradley Chubb. He's second in the nation with 14 tackles for loss. And he'll be a big test for this offensive line. I think this will be the biggest test that Notre Dame's offensive line has had all year. And it'll be interesting to see how well we do. This is going to test our running game like no other team has up to this point.
Yeah, let's jump into this week's game against NC State. We're playing at home up at Notre Dame at 3:30 on Saturday, and NBC will have that game. And both teams 6-1. The Wolfpack are 4-0 in the ACC. They're ranked number 14 in the nation. And like you said, that defense, you gave that statistic there, number 6 in the nation, and it is going to be an absolute dogfight when it comes to their defense versus our offense, and how those game plans kind of mesh together and see who comes out.
Oh, yeah. They beat us last year, if you remember. North Carolina State beat us last year, but we're a much different team this year, but they did beat us last year. Another thing, North Carolina State's quarterback, Ryan Finley, he's tough. Basically, he's 1,900 yards. He's thrown for 1,900 yards, 11 touchdowns, and he has 0 interceptions, Josh. That's impressive. No interceptions, so he doesn't turn the ball over. So that'll be a big test for the Notre Dame defense as well.
Yeah, when you have a quarterback that's not giving the ball up like that, it's pretty hard to beat. And, kind of what we alluded to earlier when it comes to that turnover margin, something's got to give this week, whether it's the quarterback for NC State, throwing an interception or two or a fumble here and there, or whether the Irish defense kind of, doesn't get that turnover this week, whether it's 1, 2, or so on. But you said it's going to be a very difficult game. And I see how physical that NC State line, whether it's offense or defensive, plays against our lines, and seeing how I'd love to be in the classroom right now, and they're probably out on the practice field, just listening to the offense and defense coordinators talking about those matchups.
Oh yeah. I was reading somewhere where the Notre Dame basketball coach Mike Bray came out and gave a warning that this North Carolina State team is better than the USC team. So I think he's right. I just thought it was interesting that the basketball coach was chiming in. But I think he's right. I think this North Carolina State team will be a more stern test. They'll test our team more so than the USC team did last week. So, hey, we're at home. It's just a matter of coming out, staying focused, get out there and compete. And Notre Dame should win this game. But it'll be a physical game. And they may as well get used to it, because it's going to be that way for the rest of the way. We still have Miami, and we still hopefully will have the playoffs. So NCAA football nowadays, with this playoff system, it's a lot like the NFL. Every week's a big game. Every week's a test. And so they may as well get used to it. Every week you're going to be playing, a top 20 team, a top 10, top 20 team. So get yourself ready to play some football.
And I'm glad you talked about the rest of the schedule here for a second. Let's pause and talk about this rest of the schedule. So they got 5 games remaining. So they're playing at home against NC State, and then at home against Wake Forest next week on November 4th. And then they travel to Miami of Florida to play them on the 11th, which I think that's going to be a huge game as well, because they are on top 10 in the nation. And then they come back home and play Navy which was ranked last week. They got beat. But, another great team, another dogfight like normal. And then they finished off traveling to Stanford on the 25th. And
that Miami game, playing Miami, it was always tough for me when we played Miami late in the season, where it's cold up in South Bend. It seems like it's cold everywhere else, but you get down to Miami, you get off the plane, it's 80, 85 degrees. You love it when you're you're walking around, you're seeing the ocean, and it's beautiful. But I tell you what, come game time, and you go through those first 2 quarters, and you're playing against a physical football team like Miami, that second half, your legs start to feel a little heavy because you're not used to that heat. But hopefully, Notre Dame has prepared for it. We normally do, but that's definitely a factor. That Miami heat late in the year is a factor that's not talked about very much, but it's definitely a factor. But we'll be ready. We'll be ready.
So, I on our Facebook page, by the way, listeners out there, we do have a Facebook page, Irish Football Weekly. Go ahead and like and follow that. We talk about some different things on there. And I put on there something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, that Coach Kelly and the staff is giving the players some humble pie this week because they got to remain focused to get to their ultimate goal, which is win a national championship. And they have to forget that USC blowout win and move to this NC State game, which, like we've alluded to this whole show when we spoke about it, is how tough it's going to be. It's going to be really tough. And as a coach, Tony, or even as a player, when you played, when you beat a really, really good team, whether it was good, whether it was by 30, whether it was by 2, what did Coach say to you, coming into the next week? Because like you alluded to earlier, it is so important to move on and get to that next game and worry about that.
Oh yeah. A lot of times the coaches, they make sure that you don't rest on your laurels, and just because you're fantastic. You guys you play Saturday, you win the game, you go out, you enjoy yourselves, you enjoy the moment. That Saturday night, but come Monday, be ready to go to work again. Get refocused, and get ready to play your next opponent. And knowing that this North Carolina State team beat us last year, they're better this year. They're a top 20 opponent. It's going to be a stern test. So I'm sure that the coaches from Notre Dame didn't really have much convincing that they had to do to get their players ready to play in this game. We'll be ready. We'll be ready.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. And Coach Elko, the defensive coordinator for us, has done an awesome job. And I'm just talking about that because I was reading earlier this week some things that I really liked as far as stats and some things that are just kind of out there that I'm not sure many Notre Dame fans know. So essentially, Notre Dame has allowed a TD on just 8 of the 23 red zone trips that have been had by the opponent's offense. So 30%, roughly 33% of the time, they give up a TD, which I think that's outstanding, especially.
Oh, yeah.
And to go with that, they've only allowed 1 red zone rushing touchdown all year, which is the only team in the country to do that. And I think that speaks volumes, really.
Oh, yeah, that's impressive. That's impressive. Yeah, I was talking with a guy the other day, and he was saying, man, I had stopped following Notre Dame for a long time. But it's sure good to see. I'm starting to watch them again now, and it's a cousin of mine. He said, I'm starting to watch them again now, and it looks like they're starting to get good players back at Notre Dame again. I said, man, I agree with it. I'll give Coach a lot of credit. We're starting to get the type of talent that I was used to seeing when I was on campus and playing for Notre Dame. My teammates, the kind of high school football they played, that they brought into Notre Dame. I think like Josh Adams, I was seeing somewhere where he's from Pennsylvania somewhere, and as you know, Pennsylvania plays good football, so I'm sure he had some unbelievable high school stats, but those were the kind of guys that I had as teammates when I was at Notre Dame, just from all over the country, and those are the kind of guys that they're starting to get again at Notre Dame, so it's a good sign. It's a good sign.
Absolutely. And two other stats that I thought were astounding when it comes to defense. Notre Dame is the only major program, so if you count them and you count the Power 5 conferences, to rank in the top 20 nationally in both red zone offense and red zone defense. And so I think that speaks volumes of those coordinators, how they prepare, how they plan, that the strength coach, the off-season workouts, and the best thing about Coach Elko and that defense, and I don't know if this is something that they preach, and Tony, you can kind of elaborate on this a little bit, maybe listening to this when you were a player, but the Irish defense has gotten off to a fast start, okay, this whole season, because they have either forced a punt or a turnover on the opponent's first drive of each game.
Oh, is that right?
That's a fast start, in my opinion. That's a great segue, a great lead, a great whatever you want to call it. Into
they're setting the tone, setting the tempo.
Yes, setting the tone. That's what I was looking for. And so, I don't know. Do defensive coaches, do the coordinators talk about that at the college level? Do they say stuff like that? Have you heard that before? As far as starting off fast, let's try.
Oh yeah. It's they talk about it all the time. It's very important in any game that you go into. And when that first time you come off the ball, you want to send a message to that defender. You want to come off and you want to rock his world, because that'll set the tempo for the rest of the game. And defensively, if those guys go out and it's 3 and out the first time that offense has the ball, that's setting the tempo for the rest of the game. And so it's definitely important. And from what I'm seeing on that defense, you have guys out there making plays. You have guys out there getting after people, and they're making plays. And to be quite honest, I didn't see that last year very often. I wasn't seeing that.
I agree with that. And I think that to win this week, there's a combination of things that have to happen. And if we were to choose 3 things, Tony, each of us, how we did the week before, is we chose 3 things that if we had to focus on to win the football game this weekend, what would they be? And what do you think, in your opinion, would be 3 things, whatever that is, to win?
Sure. I know exactly. Well, offensively, like I said, I think it's a good thing that Dexter Williams is coming back. I think it's a good thing that I think Josh Adams is healthy right now. And I think we're going to have to stay balanced offensively, get Stephenson involved, St. Brown involved, stay balanced offensively. Let Wimbush run it and pass it, and keep those guys involved. Last week, I love the fact that Stephenson, that was his first game back, they got him involved early. Keep St. Brown involved. Keep Stephenson involved. Get Dexter Williams back involved. And stay balanced offensively. Offensive line's going to have to be physical the same way they have been all year. Defensively, be physical. Make plays the way you have been all year long. You're going to have to put pressure on this quarterback. You're going to have to put pressure on this quarterback. And I'd like to see him get his first couple picks against interceptions against Notre Dame. I'd like to see if Notre Dame could get that done. And, basically, and special teams. Special teams are going to have to. I think our special teams have been playing pretty well so far this year. I haven't seen a whole lot of big plays against us special teams-wise. But that's pretty much it. Be balanced on offense, be physical on defense and make plays, and just be solid special teams-wise.
Those are 3 really good ones, and I agree with all of those, and I think that should be a common theme for the rest of the year, if not already. They've already talked about that, but I'm kind of a stats guy, so I got 3 or 2 of them at least, that may fall in the stat column here. So 3rd down conversions, whether it's offensively or defensively, we have to lead in both of those. I kind of talked about that earlier when it comes to USC being 4 of 13, which is around 37%, and Notre Dame was over 50. So I think that's got to be similar this week, 3rd down conversion rate, both sides. And then I think big plays. I think when big plays happen, and I hope they do, obviously for us, I think they got to take advantage and make sure those are demoralizing. And with that home crowd, that may help out. And then the last thing, which I think they've done a great job all year for the most part, is halftime adjustments. And whether the coordinators talk with their position coaches or however they do that up there, I think halftime adjustments. And I think this week's going to be a real close game, and we'll get to that in just a minute to our predictions. But halftime adjustment, I think they have to be able to adjust well and do well in the second half to obviously win this football game. So those are my three. Third down conversion rate, big plays, capitalize on those, and then the halftime adjustment halfway through. So that's my thought.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it, Josh. No doubt about it.
All right, so let's move on, Tony, to your favorite segment, my not favorite segment, the three toughest picks of the week. And man, I thought I was going to move up a little bit, but no, that didn't happen. So let me kind of elaborate to the listener. So Tony, you got 2 out of 3. I got 2 out of 3. And you're 12-6, and I'm the complete opposite. And I won't have to mention that record. You just know what that means when I say opposite. So we'll move on to the games. So let's talk about it. This week, 3 really good games. All of them are ranked opponents. This one right here is going probably to determine who will be in the college playoff, football playoff this year. Possibly, this could be in contention. So it's number 2 Penn State traveling to Columbus, Ohio, playing the 6th-ranked Buckeyes.
All right, I was saying you better mention that game. That's going to be a huge game this weekend.
Yeah.
And you know what? Saquon Barkley, I've been really impressed with Penn State's tailback. This guy can run it. He can catch it out of the backfield. He's fast. He's exciting. In my opinion, Ohio State, they're always loaded with athletic talent. They're always loaded with talent. So defensively, so they'll have the athletes out there to stop him. But I've been so impressed with Barkley that I'm going to say they won't stop him. He can do so many things. He can run it. He can catch it. I think that he's going to give Ohio State fits. I'm going to go with Penn State.
All right, so you go with the road team, Penn State. Those guys traveling to Columbus. Well, for multiple reasons, not only to try to get back into contention to compete with you, if that's even a thing now, but I'm picking Ohio State for a couple of reasons. One, Urban Meyer. That's one reason right there, because I think that dude is an absolute stud as a coach.
No question.
He knows football, and he knows how to motivate and stay focused. And they've been kind of quiet all year. They've just kind of been, under the radar almost when it comes to, and which is hard to do, in my opinion, to be at Ohio State, to be that highly ranked, and to have that prestigious coach. But I'm going to go with Ohio State in this game. We'll see what happens there. Second game.
And Ohio State being at home, that's a big advantage. Ohio State is tough at home. That's going to be a big advantage. So, that can go either way. But I've been so impressed with this Barker kid that I can't go against him. I think he's going to get the job done.
No, those are all good points, Tony. And we'll see. And Barkley is a great player for the Nittany Lions there. So we'll see.
Yeah, and another thing, Ohio State's coach, I think he made the point. I think he said that as far as running and catching the football, he thinks Barkley is the best that he's ever seen. That's a huge statement coming from Urban Meyer.
Oh yeah, I agree. I did not know that, and that's a great compliment. And that we'll see how he fares up against that Ohio State defense this week on the road. So good luck to both teams, and hopefully both of them lose so that Notre Dame can move up. Right?
Right, exactly.
All right. So let's go to the second game here. Number 4 TCU at number 25 Iowa State. Another game that's important to the Irish in some respects of hoping the lower seed wins. So number 4 TCU traveling to number 25 Iowa State. Who you got, Tony?
Texas football. It's hard to go against Texas football. They play great football in Texas. I think most of that roster at TCU are former Texas high school football players. I'm going to go with Texas. TCU wins that one.
Okay, and so you have TCU and Penn State, and you know how I am. I'm gonna have to choose against you because that's what I do, right? And
right.
Well, here's the thing. Here's why I'm choosing Iowa State.
Okay.
One, they're at home, and I don't know how important that is, but they're at home. And the second,
it's important. It's important.
And that's one of the main reasons. And the other reason is that they beat Oklahoma. They've beaten a really big team. So that's why I'm taking Iowa State, and we'll see what happens. And
they have a shot. Definitely, they have a shot. And beating Oklahoma, that's impressive.
Yeah. And so we'll see. Hopefully, they can knock off the number 4 team in the nation to help Notre Dame's chances, as long as Notre Dame takes care of business too. So
right, Notre Dame definitely needs to take care of business.
Absolutely. Next, the last game, they have to travel across the way a little bit. Number 11, Oklahoma State, is traveling to number 22, West Virginia. So they got to travel a little ways, and both ranked opponents. Who do you got, Tony, in this game?
Oklahoma State. I'm going to take Oklahoma State on that one. Just they have a receiver I really like, and I just have a feeling that Oklahoma State is going to come away with that one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's what's going to happen as well, and that's why I'm picking them too. So I'm picking Oklahoma State for those exact reasons, ironically. So I think they'll win. So there's the 3 toughest picks, folks, and we'll see what happens this week. We got a couple different picks, and hopefully I can climb up just a little bit more this week and kind of be respectable when it comes to making some picks this year. So now, as we move on, we go to our favorite part, at least in my opinion. I love talking Irish football, and I know you do too as well, Tony, but I love talking about the prediction, and I just get really pumped up when I talk about the prediction. But I'm going to let you go first. What do you got this week for the Irish prediction time?
You know what? The offense has been scoring out. That last week's output against USC, the offensive output kind of surprised me. It did surprise me. To put up 49 points against a USC offense. Defense. That's incredible. So, and we've been we've been doing well offensively all year, so scoring a lot of points. I'm going to say I think this will be our toughest test. Offensively, this defense will be our toughest test. But I'm going to say we're going to prevail. We're going to score 35 points. I'm going to go 38 points. I'm going to 38 points. Defensively, I think we're going to get after that quarterback, make him throw a couple interceptions, and I'm going to give him 20 points. 21. 38-21, Notre Dame.
All right, awesome. Man, I love talking about this. So you have 38-21 with the Irish win, couple turnovers by their quarterback for the first time this year. I like it. I like the way you're thinking there. I like where your head's at. I think I'm going the same route. Irish are winning this game. They're playing at home. They got a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence right now. We've got a lot of support, and I think they're going to win 28-20. And
okay.
So a little bit less than as far as the point total.
Yeah.
So, and I think I've only been really close on the offense one time this year, but I hope I'm wrong when it comes to the Irish point total. But hopefully I'm correct on NC.
I thought you called for more points last week than I did for the offensive score. I thought you called for more points last week.
Last week, I did.
Against USC.
Yeah, you're right. I did. No, wait, that was you. You did that. I did the close game. You did okay. You did 35-24. I did 24-23. Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking back at my notes there. But, yeah, I hope you're right. Well, I hope you're right because we both have similar point totals for the Wolfpack, and I love seeing the offense score points, so I hope you're right.
Oh, yeah. I've been surprised at the kind of points that they're putting up. But, man, the way we're running the football and Brandon Wimbush is starting to throw the football. We're getting guys back healthy again. So hopefully we'll continue to keep getting better and keep putting up all those points. And I tell you what, we're going to be tough to beat. by anybody will be tough to beat.
I agree to the nth degree there. And so that kind of wraps up our whole show there, except for the last part here, the fun fact for the finish. And this kind of talks about what you started to talk about earlier about Josh Adams and his yards per carry, which is at 9.21 there, which is second in the nation at this point, which is outstanding, by the way.
Unheard of.
It definitely. I mean, that's like a Madden special there.
With the kind of schedule that Notre Dame plays, and he's averaging 9 yards a carry. Oh my goodness.
And so this week, the fun fact is it goes all the way back to 1920, and George Gipp is the school record holder for yards per carry at 8.1, and I think that 8.1 is outstanding, and he had that for the whole season in 1920, and there's an opportunity here for them to be able to have an awesome school record from Josh Adams. So I just think that's awesome. I don't know about you, but I think that's amazing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, the question that I'm getting from a lot of people is, will Josh come back next year? I think he's a junior, right? He's a junior this year, and he's having an outstanding year. I think we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But if he keeps playing the type of football that he's playing right now, the NFL is going to make it very hard for him to come back for another year of school.
Oh, man, you're totally right. I agree. It'd be hard for me, too. So.
It would be hard for me, too. He'll come back the following year and get his degree from Notre Dame. But, I mean, he's playing lights-out football right now. He's in the Heisman hunt. I just think it'll be tough. The NFL is going to make it very tough for him to come back next year. But, hey, Notre Dame recruit, there'll be more recruits that comes in. And I think Dexter Williams will be ready to step up next year. So maybe we need to stay focused on this year. We're in the hunt right now for a national championship. Let's go get it.
I'm with you. I'm with you wholeheartedly there. And, well, that kind of wraps up our show, Tony. I appreciate all the good stuff you had there. And all the folks out there, you can find our show on multiple medias, such as our website, of course, our home base, if you will, thegruelingtruth.net, and you'll see us on Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Music, iTunes. If you have an iPhone, you got the App Store, go ahead and download the Grueling Truth app, subscribe, and listen to all of our shows, plus other shows that are on there with different sports. They do have some other college football shows on there as well, but you can listen to our show on that app as well, and of course iHeartRadio. And so Tony and I are also on Facebook, by the way, if you find us. We also have an Irish Football Weekly webpage now on Facebook that you can find and like and follow there. I'm also on Twitter at CoachJB4 on that social media aspect there. So that kind of concludes our weekly show for Irish Football Weekly. I'm your host, or one of your hosts, I should say, Josh Benjamin. For my co-host, Tony Hunter, this is Josh Benjamin signing off for Irish Football Weekly. Go Irish. Peace.
Go Irish.